Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and if you saw I did an unboxing video on the Figo Gravity, and this device has just gone on sale on Amazon for $160, so definitely a budget device. So I want to go ahead and take a look, do my full review on the Figo Gravity. To begin, I want to start with design of the Figo Gravity. I do want to add that it does include a 1-year warranty according to their Amazon page. I will link to that down below. And here is the back. It does have an all-metal unibody design, and it does feel pretty good in your hand. I do like the feel to it. Definitely doesn't feel cheap by any means, specifically at that $160 price point. So definitely a lower price point. You'll see the fingerprint scanner, 13 megapixel camera with flash. Up at the top, you have your headphone jack. You have an IR blaster. Awesome that they included that because not a lot of devices have those right now. Down at the bottom, micro USB slot to charge. You do have one speaker grill, and the other one's for symmetry, and also a microphone as well. On the right side here, you have your power button. Down below, your 2 volume rockers. No texture difference at all, but I really find that my thumb sits pretty much perfectly on that power button, so it's not very difficult to differentiate between the volume and power buttons. On the left side, you have that SIM slot. It's actually a dual SIM phone. Along with that, also can add a micro SD card. So you can have 1 SIM, 1 micro SD, or 2 SIM cards. It's also worth noting that that single mono speaker is probably a little bit below average due to the volume level that it gets at. It actually doesn't get as loud as I would have liked. Quality is okay as well, just about what you'd expect for the price point that you get. On the front of the device, you have on-screen buttons, so nothing down at the bottom of that chin. And on the forehead, as my buddy Max calls it, you do have an earpiece along with a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, testing out that fingerprint scanner works very well. I was actually very impressed with it, so let's go ahead and set your finger on, and you'll see it unlocks it really very quick, actually, and also very accurate. I honestly have not really had an issue with it saying not recognized or need to repress it, anything like that. So the fingerprint is very good on this device. The Figo Gravity has a 5.5-inch 720p IPS LCD display, and I do want to make note that it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. As you can see when I show it off the glare, you can see that there is a bunch of fingerprints, a little bit more than usual anyways. Now that display is customizable, so let's jump into settings, go into display, and they do have mirror vision. So here is where you can kind of customize what your screen's going to look like. So picture mode, you have standard, vivid, and user mode as well. So user mode allows you to customize so many different things: contrast, saturation, brightness, temperature, sharpness, and contrast. So you can really customize it to your liking. So you'll see here, if I go to color temperature, you can make it a little warmer or cooler. So that's a little bit cooler. You'll see a little bit warmer as well. So you have a bunch of tuning options to actually change the display to your liking. I find that overall, I've kept it on standard. I've been pretty happy with it overall. Now, the display quality is pretty good. I mean, it is a 720p display, so being used to using a 1080p and 1440p display is a little bit noticeable, but I will add that having a 720p display really helps performance along with battery life. I'll talk about both of those in just a second. But overall brightness, it gets just as bright as I need it to outside. Viewing angles are pretty good as well. So overall, pretty solid 720p IPS LCD display. The Gravity has a 3000 milliamp hour embedded battery, and in regards to battery life, I've been getting about a little over 4 hours screen on time, which is just about average. Let's see what it's at now. So about 25%. Let's go to screen, a little over 3 hours. So that's pretty consistent. So pretty consistently a little bit over 4 hours. So nothing great, just about average. It does have a 720p display, which does help out battery life. It also does have a quick charge capability, so it does charge fairly fast. Moving along, let's talk about that 13 megapixel rear camera. And overall, it is just about what you'd expect for a budget device being at $160. You'll see the UI actually looks a little bit outdated, to be honest. The buttons look very gingerbread-esque. On the left side here, you have an option to turn on face beauty mode, and then also night shoot mode, and then up at the top is normal mode. Now, when snapping pictures, you really want to hold the device steady. If you don't, you might get a subpar photo, especially when you're in a low light scenario. So definitely make sure you hold it steady until that image is completely captured. And then in regards to image capturing, when you are in good lighting scenarios, the pictures turn out fine. Nothing crazy good, but overall, They have been pretty standard and exactly what you would expect. One issue I had was when you have a bit of a depth of field shot, as I have pulled up right here. I tried to focus on the closest leaf, but that stayed blurry. It had a hard time focusing on one of the closer ones as opposed to the further away ones. However, when you don't have a depth of field and you just have something close to you, it still does a decent job as long as you're in good lighting. When you're in a lower lighting scenario, here's just a very quick shot of a lower lighting scenario. If you don't hold it still, it'll seem a little fuzzy, and it's still fuzzy even if you don't hold it still. But overall, I would say it probably performs a little bit better than the price point that it's at. Now, next up is software. And on the surface level, it looks very similar to stock Android. It does run Android 6.0 Marshmallow, so it has not been updated to Android 7.0 Nougat just yet. So you see About Phone, Android 6.0, brings up that Marshmallow Easter egg. Anyways, jumping back, here is the home launcher. By default, you'll see you just have a couple home screens. Your app drawer is horizontal pageanted pages. If you press and hold on the home screen, it brings up your settings. If you jump into settings, you have, I'm sorry, not those settings. Press and hold and you tap these three buttons. It brings it on up. Of course, you can swipe it up and down. Where you can turn the search bar on and off, you have a scroll effect where you can change the effect of the various scrolls. Icon labels, you can turn them on and off. Scroll your wallpaper. Grid size is another nice one where if you want condensed, cozy, or custom as well, you can customize that. I usually choose cozy. Layout, you can do page, you can do vertical as well for your app drawer, and then your scroll effect. So a lot of customizations to their own default home launcher if you'd like to actually mess with that. Now next up are some gestures, and that is when your phone is off. So you can double tap the screen, and you see it didn't work that first time. It usually works on the second time. Sometimes it might not work on the first one. Let's try that again. Double tap on the screen, and it worked that first time. So it is hit or miss. Usually it will work on the first time, but occasionally you'll have to do it twice. Anyways, let's go to those. So let's jump into settings, scroll down, go to gesture control, and you do have smart slide. And this is where you have other options, not just double tap. You can actually use an O to go to the camera. You can go to W for your contacts, and you'll see they have a bunch of custom ones that you can turn on and off. You can switch music if you swipe from the left or right, swipe up to unlock, swipe down as well. So let's go ahead and try one of them out. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle on the lock screen, and you'll see it just opens up that camera application. And I do want to make note that it actually does give you a bit of a demonstration if you're having difficulty. So if you go to gesture control smart slide, if you want to know how to draw a specific character, such as the E, for whatever reason, if you turn it on, you go ahead and it gives you a bit of a diagram. So those are a little nice gestures, especially that double tap to wake's a really nice feature. Pulling down that status bar reveals those quick settings, those quick toggles, where you do have audio profiles, cast, you have a flashlight as well. Very similar look to stock Android. And then if you jump into settings, pretty much everything is similar to stock Android. You do have a scheduled power on and off if you'd like to customize that. But overall, all the settings other than those gestures are very similar to stock Android. And of course, it running Android 6.0 Marshmallow, you can press and hold and get the Google Assistant as well, like most other devices. Here's a look at that recent app screen with a clear all button as well. A little bug in the software, which isn't really that big of a deal. For example, if I go to Instagram, you'll see the Wi-Fi icon is white, and it's barely visible when you open up Instagram. Let's say, for example, I open up YouTube TV as well. You'll see the Wi-Fi icon just disappears because of that white background. A little annoying, not that big of a deal though. The Figo Gravity has an MT6753 octa-core processor. It's actually from MediaTek, and it's also coupled with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So a lot of budget devices actually have 2 gigabytes of RAM. So it's nice that they have added that extra gig. And it does show a little bit. I would say RAM management is pretty solid on this device. So let's go ahead and do some multitasking real quick. So let's go ahead and press the home button. Have that game running right there. Let's go ahead and open up an app. Maybe go to Reddit real quick. Scroll through. Maybe go to this picture. Go back home. Let's go to the recent apps button as well. And overall, I would say a lot of the speed performance is attributed to having a 720p display. If it had a 1080p display, it would definitely bog down the device. But overall, I've been actually pretty happy with performance on this phone. As you can see, it's definitely fairly smooth. You do get a hiccup here and there, but overall, I've been pretty happy and pleased with the performance on the Figo Gravity, to be completely honest. I actually wanted to open up the camera app. Let's do that real quick. snap a picture and see if the game actually will stay open. I'm going to go ahead and try to open it on up. And there we go. Go ahead and hit resume, and you'll be good to go. So like I mentioned, performance has been pretty solid overall. I've been pretty happy. Now, I just want to give some final thoughts. The design is very nice with that all-metal design. Definitely feels more premium than the cost. That fingerprint scanner works really well, and also it's great that they included an IR blast. So that's just a personal preference of mine. The screen could be a little bit better, it being at 720p, but like I mentioned, that does help out the performance along with battery life as well. Camera, pretty standard what you'd expect, and a little bit of a bummer that it has Android 6.0 as opposed to Android 7.0. So overall, I would say it is better than what you pay for. In terms of it being a budget device, $160, I would say I would probably price it a little bit higher for what you get. So that's pretty much my final thoughts on the Figo Gravity. Hopefully you enjoyed my review video. If you did, click that thumbs up button. Follow me on various social media, all links below. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.